Hello Canada, welcome back to another edition of the Canadian Citizen Journal. I'm your host, Elias Tagay. Well, we've got a lot kind of going on. I'm going to concentrate today's episode just on the well, I could do this every day, but I'm doing it today because I really think it's crucial to really point out the slippery road that we're going down and literally what's going on every day. And now another bombshell kind of came out, and it's through an independent. She does an amazing interview, and what she exposes on the censorship in the music industry from our own Canadian government will blow your minds. But we're going to do the whole episode on how, well, we have a fascist government. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, easy on that word. I've studied propaganda for decades, and I'm a history buff. And I can tell you, what I first saw, especially before Trudeau was elected, knowing who his dad was, and of course knowing a little bit about the turd himself, I knew where he was going. He's a full-fledged socialist, which, if you've tuned into previous episodes, you'll see a lot of old school liberals, the original liberals, who fled from the party, including the president of the Liberal Party, say it's a socialist party now. But I'm going to go further and prove the separation between how we became fascist halfway through the Liberals' term. As of 5 years ago, they were pushing the line. And by the time the Wuhan hit, they showed their true colors. And the election's a great example of it. Liberals didn't vote for the failures of their MPs. They voted for a new leader. The leader was the party in its entirety. That's fascism. One man who controls everything. Now, you could say dictatorship, but not quite yet. Although the two are very closely linked. You even had Chrystia Freeland going out on American airwaves saying what makes Canada so great compared to the States is we don't vote for the Prime Minister, we vote for our MPs, our own representatives. All propaganda, all lies, especially coming from her. But the election proved that the mentality of Canadians, through propaganda, through legislation, has given the Liberal Party the ability to create a fascist state. The only way to get rid of it is to make sure they get completely decimated. And we get, in this aspect, a conservative government, because they seem to be the only ones making any sense, who can actually expose all of the corruptions, the deceit, the lies, and end all of the totalitarian legislation that they have put in. Now, this whole episode will just prove, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that we're past socialism. That bridge has been burnt. Getting back to at least a democratic, social democratic system is going to be incredibly hard, because it takes years upon years to remove the laws that have been put in power. And the worst thing is the next party that wins, like most politicians, seek to stay in power. Will they have the courage to actually remove this lost decade, this destructive fascist decade, and get us back to at least a social democratic nation, which that's got to be changed too. But let's just dabble on. I'm going to take you down memory row, and then we're going to lead into this amazing independent, and, well, what she just blew the lid right off of.
So I'm hoping perhaps the Prime Minister might be able to assist today. Now, the Heritage Minister has claimed repeatedly that Bill C-11 doesn't capture user-generated content. But the chair of the CRTC, Mr. Scott, has said yes, in fact, user-generated content is captured within Bill C-11. Both of these men cannot be correct. And so I'm wondering if the Prime Minister can perhaps clarify, for the sake of Canadians who are watching today, should they believe his minister or should they believe the chair of the CRTC?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we have been very clear. Bill C-11 applies to platforms, not to users.
The Honourable Member for Richmond Arthabaska. Mr. Speaker, in my riding, I have two amazing online content creators. Julia Westland and David Michaud have millions of viewers on YouTube, and they are world famous. Their art is their livelihood. But under Bill C-11, the CRTC could regulate their content and therefore have major impacts on their source of income. Will the Prime Minister guarantee that user-generated content on social media, like that of Julie and David, is exempt? Yes or no? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Yes, Mr. Speaker. I am very pleased to be able to underscore the work of Julia and David and to say that their content will be protected. We are there to ensure that platforms protect Canadian content, but user-generated content, our users will be supported, and that's what the Conservatives still don't get. We, on this side of the House, we are always going to protect creators and artists. The Conservatives, we know what their story is. The Honourable Member for Richmond Arthabaska. Mr. Speaker, it's not because the Prime Minister says something that it's true. What is written in the bill clearly is that the CRTC could regulate all content that generates income directly or indirectly, like artists who don't get subsidies and who want to live from their art. So a number of experts, not Conservatives, experts in the field have raised red flags in committee, and I'm going to repeat my question. It's very simple. Will he exempt all creators, all users on social media from Bill C-11, yes or no? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, yes. Creators, users, these individual people are protected under the bill. We are...
All lies. All lies. Then you have their propaganda doing what they do best.
So why do you think this legislation became a priority for the government to get through?
It's a great question. I think they've heard from some creators from the traditional broadcast system who were very concerned about being shut out of sort of these new systems on the internet. I think a lot of folk in Quebec are very worried about being able to receive all the content they want in French. But there is an opportunity, I think, to close a few of the loopholes and get really what the government says they're looking for. The minister is going to be issuing a policy direction on the bill soon. And that's an opportunity to make very clear that user content is out and that they shouldn't go too far in manipulating our feeds and choices.
So that would that have to be an amendment? Is that a policy direction that the...
Now you caught that, right? So that they shouldn't go too far. Shouldn't go too far. Smile, smile, keep going, move on.
TC would just have to follow to kind of leave some of the small creators alone?
Yeah, it's a policy direction. So from our perspective, from a rights perspective, it's not as good as improving the law. But it's an opportunity to at least say, in practice, you shouldn't be going too far with this. Don't include creators who don't want to be in. Don't meddle with people's choices in a way that they would not like in their online experience.
So then why not do that now? Why not have everything that you're saying in this bill, which is now law?
Listen.
That's the million-dollar question. I mean, their opposition will say it's because they actually do want to use this bill to censor Canadians. I think that remains to be determined. But if they don't want people to think that, they can clean it up in the policy direction. They always said that it was...
Propaganda, people. This is all propaganda. It never ends. It never ends. It just keeps going. It keeps going.
We're now joined by the Minister for Canadian Heritage, Pablo Rodriguez. Minister, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Listen, I want to begin here with a headline, and this is actually from the Globe and Mail yesterday. I'm going to read the headline to you. It says about C11's passage. Crowd displeaser. As online streaming act becomes law, just about everyone is unhappy. I want to begin with that because I was wondering what your reaction is to it. Here you are spending all this time to get C11 passed. It is now passed. It's now received royal assent. But still more suspicion than praise for the law. What's your reaction to that?
Well, that's one paper, one opinion. I disagree with what's said there because, I mean, if you look at the article across the country, there's huge support for this bill because the Broadcasting Act has not been amended since 1991. Many governments tried it before, but never since 1991. 1991, we were not going on the internet. We would listen music on our Walkmans, you know, a little yellow box, and we would go to Blockbuster to rent movies. So I think it's a huge achievement, and people from the music, television, movie sector are very happy.
Okay.
So, and that
Ready? This is what people don't get. I studied this for decades. This is propaganda. You start off with an article pointing something out. You throw it out there. And within your own questioning, you back up what who you're supposed to be holding to account, but in this case it's propaganda. They're pumping up the liberals. This is what they've been doing. This is why they're still in power. Propaganda is the strongest arm of any socialist, communist, fascist, or dictatorship. Listen to what he says here.
That's true. Like we are hearing praise from more traditional media, like TV, like film, like screenwriters. But when you talk,
That's also bullshit. Because there were a lot of very famous and prominent authors, directors that were screaming, you cannot put this law through. Most of them were actually liberal. But guess what? They don't give them the time of day. Because at this point in time, they're not liberal. Because if you're speaking up against the party, you get silenced. Do you see where I'm going with this?
about new media like TikTok and YouTube, they're not happy about this, nor are their content generators. What do you say to that criticism?
Well, this bill is very simple. Sometimes these things are not there. The bill is asking two things, right, to the streamers.
Listen to what he's saying, because this is already lies. There's only two things. There's only two things.
It's asking Disney, Netflix, and those streamers that we love, the Prime and others, to contribute to Canadian culture. That's the first thing. The second thing, we're asking them to showcase more of who we are, what we are, our stories are. A little bit more about music, maybe on Spotify. A little bit more of our television and movies on the other streamers. That's it. That's all we're asking.
Is it?
Some people see things are not on the bill, but it is what it is.
Well, I guess part of the fear here is, and this is really more with new media, because as you know, algorithms determine so much of what we see online. It gives us not only what we're looking for, but it is also suggesting other media, other files within an environment that you might be interested in. And I guess the concern is, if the algorithm is based with geography, therefore bring more Canadian content to Canadian users, if other countries followed suit, it might limit Canadian content drivers and creators to actually go beyond our country. Those algorithms might, for example, disadvantage Canadians outside of the Canadian environment. What do you say to that?
What? Did you read the article? Were you actually listening? No. This is propaganda. The number one concern was that it gives the government the power to pick who they think is Canadian. So if you're a Canadian and you say something that goes against the party, see where this is going, you get censored. Oh, and trust me, I know all about this. I get censored. Every single episode I do, I can watch all the algorithms, and not just through the different devices, the different platforms I'm on. I have a couple other programs that actually watch what's going on. I get nailed. If I say Liberal Party, If I follow it up with certain words, I get censored. I can't say the original name of Wuhan. I can't say the real name for Pokepoke without getting censored. And there's other things that I have tested. And if I urge you, please, especially if you're new, subscribe and go and check out my other episodes, because I go through it when it's happening. I've tested it since I started doing this show. And I would slowly allow myself to kind of build up, and then I would test words. And then as I slowly got to figure out how each platform worked and figure out how those algorithms worked, I'd see me get hit. Then I found other programs as I'm getting better in this digital technology. And then I found other programs. And I talk freely and openly, because all I want to do is give the truth. Sorry, just the truth, just the facts. Things I post, because I always put everything in the description, I get censored. Now, some of these programs I'm running can't pick out exactly what it is, so it leaves it to me to try to narrow down what it was out of those 15 to 40, depending on the episode, documents and videos and other links that I always put in the description, actually is getting me hit by algorithms. It's not the world's YouTube that's doing it. It's Canadian YouTube. If I was sending this out of the States, I wouldn't have as big of a problem. And Google just released that they're going to start removing a lot of the censorship policies that the Biden administration just put in. Now, I'm just going to give you a small quote. So historian Ian Kershaw once wrote, "Trying to define fascism is like trying to nail jelly to the wall. Each group described as fascist has at least some unique elements, and frequently definitions of fascism have been criticized as either too broad or too narrow. According to many scholars, fascists, especially when they are in power, have historically attacked certain types of socialism, mostly conservatism, and parliamentary liberalism." And this is where the definition goes south, because we've seen how the new style of fascists have removed the idealism of it being a right wing. And I'm going to get to that as we go through this, and it'll all make sense. Now here is a absolutely fabulous speech given by David Richards, Senator David Richards.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I have a good deal of problems with this bill. I think it's censorship passing as a national inclusion. And I'm not very savvy with the internet. I never have been. And at 72 years old, I doubt if I ever will be. But I do know something about art, a little bit about creativity. So I'll read to that point. Honorable colleagues, there is a certain essay by Cicero called the Second Philippic, which was written to expose the power of the state against freedom of speech and freedom of thought, and the power of one man, Mark Antony. It is a brilliant proclamation and shows Cicero at his best and bravest. It was delivered in the Roman Senate, and Cicero paid for writing it with his life. His hands were cut off and taken to Mark Antony as proof that Cicero would never write again. Cicero lived in a dangerous time. When Vasily Grossman completed Life and Fate, his grand novel about the Battle of Stalingrad, it had to be sanctioned by the cultural section of the Central Committee, the wise Soviet think tank of art and culture. They took a year to answer and said that it was anti-Soviet. They did not accept it for publication. It is published now, and it is, of course, a wonderful book showing fascism and communism to be mirror images of one another.
And he's absolutely right. read the book. It's fabulous. More and more, hopefully, new subscribers and my viewers are understanding the idea of what real fascism is. They will twist and they will turn definitions on their ass in order to do the things they want to do while stopping any opposition, especially any voices that go against it. You can't allow that. You cannot have that person standing on a soapbox in front of Parliament, giving a speech, moving people when they hear the truth come out. They will not allow open debate. They want to shut it down, and they will do so by any means necessary. People who believe in censorship scream, "Fascist, you're a fascist," to the people who want free speech. Do you see this? This is what's going on everywhere in the world. Charlie Kirk has proven this. There was another shooting. Who was the person? Antifa, anti-fascist. Antifa is not anti-fascism. They have taken it over in order to try to push forward this narrative that now censorship is anti-fascist. Fascist goals: a national dictatorship to regulate economic structure and transform social relations with a modern, self-determined culture. That's very imperative. A political aesthetic of romantic symbolism, mass mobilization, the whole push that just happened to most of Canada. What happened? This false narrative of nationalism, of patriotism. Elbows up! Elbows up! And who did they vote for? The same party that has put in all of these censorship legislation. The steps from socialism to communism to fascism has been completed. And now, because they are in power, and you got to remember, a lot of their power came from the fact that you can't get news on a lot of the most famous, all of these other platforms. And by banning the information, people don't get to see what the government's doing. That falls under where? Fascism. Control. It takes away the ability for people to recognize and see what's going on and then act on it by removing those powers and replacing them with somebody who will free up the people. Fascism. Big steps. Big steps. All it took was 10 years. It only took 5 in Germany. But like I said, this is a different type of fascism. They've twisted it and flipped it in order to try and cheat the dictionary's terms on what it is. And again, I'm just going to keep proving this as we go on. Now, here's the bombshell that was dropped. Now, Odessa Orowitz. I'm going to put her link, like I always put all the links. I urge you to watch this in its entirety. Now, I apologize. I cannot find it on YouTube. I cannot find it on Rumble. She does have the full video on X. So if you don't have it, I apologize. I can't record it and take it and put it for myself because I don't want to take away from her, because this is how she makes her living, and she deserves full credit for this interview. Listen very carefully, people.
Music artists that are trying to advertise their songs or albums, they are censoring your ability to advertise songs if you don't do what the government wants.
Correct.
We're going to play this tape you did. He even said you have to take out you saying bank accounts were frozen.
Yeah.
What? And bank accounts were frozen is just a
Facts.
fact.
Yeah.
We can't talk about the freezing bank accounts. We can't mention anything about anybody getting arrested or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
That's because of the Canadian government and not X. Where even if it's even going to mention Trump in Canada, it's not allowing it anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, and Odessa, it's unbelievable because even if you have a picture of him or even use the word Donald Trump in the text itself, they halt it. I can run that video in the UK or the United States, no problem. But as soon as you run the ad in Canada, boom, instantly halted.
So our federal government's deciding which political figures can be in your music videos.
How does this even reflect on our trading relationship that we're apparently working on, right?
So that's why I'm going to work with them and I'm going to see what I can get approved. And I'm really escalating this case. I want to fight it until until I can't no more.
And you want to know what? This isn't Twitter's fault. It's the government of Canada basically holding a gun to the executives and the branch at Twitter saying, you're going to do this or else. That's what's going on.
But what we can do is, if we put in this rules against hate content, right? We can get our allies to follow suit. Do we have the stomach to shut them down?
This is North Korea shit.
Yeah.
So tell me again, what kind of a government do we have? This has surpassed communism and socialism and put us into the realm of fascism. They pick and choose. The Canadian government is censoring Canadians. And again, I know all about this. They want to make sure they only allow Canadians to hear and tote the party line. You have to fight, there's a song in here, for the right to get back Canada and get out of this post-national state. What do you mean, Elias? Well, how many people have been charged with flying the Canadian flag? 7 that I know of, and I've run across a hell of a lot more on X and different social media platforms. Their push is to create a new form of nationalism. They're using propaganda, which, if you haven't seen my Elbows Up the True Story, there's a wake-up call in there that all the liberals need to see. Because the reality of the deceit of what a government will do to keep power and brainwash the people using propaganda, and now they have full control of not only the radios. You're driving down the road, you're listening to the local radio, what do you hear for news? CRTC regulated news. The radio station, CRTC regulated. The televisions, CRTC regulated. It's all propaganda. Again, previous episodes, gone. CRTC gave it to, instead of a conservative voice, to the same liberal corporation that has the radio station in our little city, in the little city beside, in the big city north, in the other little city across the border, and in the other little city over there. CRTC regulated propaganda outlets when the news comes on the radio, you are listening to CBC, CTV, all of the state-funded crap. It's propaganda. You have to fight. Now, fight. Here's a fight that was won. And kudos goes out to Nova Scotia students. Great job fighting to try to get your Canadian roots back. Students' appeal leads Nova Scotia to mandate singing of O Canada at schools. Kids had to fight for this. Can you imagine having to fight your government in order to get O Canada back in schools? Following a dedicated student-led campaign, Nova Scotia's progressive conservative government has mandated that all public schools will now play the national anthem every morning. Education Minister Brendan McGuire issued the directive Thursday after receiving a letter from grade 12 students at Charles P. Allen High School in Bedford. The students expressed concern that their school no longer played O Canada. O Canada, a patriotic symbol and a hallmark to our national identity, has been missing from our corridors and classrooms, the letter reads. According to CTV News, this omission to play the anthem is problematic in itself as it works to undermine tradition, continuity, and national pride, as well as the sacrifices of men and women in the armed forces and so many others who have fought to secure Canada, blah, 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 blah. I love this. Casey Min, who emigrated from South Korea in 2019, was among the students who penned the letter. I haven't heard any anthem since my first day here in high school, which would have been 2 years ago. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? But this is what the governments have been doing. This is what lefties do. They try to make you first hate your country. They're going to recreate it. They're going to change the lyrics. Oh, guess what? They did that. Recreating Canada in their own image. Who does this? What type of a government does this? Come on, people. Come on. Now, we're going to tie right into, I love the weave, I love the weaving, back to the ostriches. Now propaganda, because this has gone global, thanks to the independent media, this is what, okay, so now it's global. The government's looking bad. Oh boy, government's looking bad. Gotta do something. Fascist government. First thing you do, you ban anybody from being able to see what's going on. Selected location, Central Kootenay, BC, Air Canada. Description, pursuant to Section 5.1 of the Aeronautics Act, the airspace within a radius of 0.5 NM center, they give the coordinates, approximate, blah, 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 Arrow Lakes, Halley, blah, blah, Cal 2 is restricted. DRG police ops, no person shall operate an aircraft, including remotely piloted aircraft, a RPA drone, within the area described unless authorized by the controlling agency. This is from here, like from ground, to the stars. You are not allowed to see what the government is doing. Rebel News, because they had already had a ban on drones, while these buggers were flying drones around, scaring ostriches. These people have no idea the damage you're doing to these animals. Like, just disgusting. I've worked with wildlife. That the first thing you don't do, everything you do's got to be calm, relaxed, quiet, no shining, no flapping lights, no big noises, no, especially drones. Hello, wake up. But they banned drones, so they stopped all of the people who are out there from being able to fly a drone up and see what was going on. They did this because of their police presence. Once they got in and then they were flying drones, well now, hey, they've just taken over the whole airspace. But Rebel News, kudos to Rebel News. They rented a helicopter and showed exactly what they were doing. Showed the killing fields. I ran this on the previous episode. And thank you so much, Ezra, and your amazing team of reporters and, not reporters, of journalists, of real journalists. Now they've banned that. What kind of a government would do that? Then you run propaganda. Now read very carefully. Read what this says. Businesses say they face harassment, threats amid the ostrich cull controversy. Really? Businesses say they face harassment. Oh, they run it across the screen.
That's what they really want. They want to save these birds. They're looking at these birds and they're saying as you mentioned, there were 69 birds that had contracted avian flu and had died. But these birds somehow appear to have not contracted the virus. We don't actually know whether they have it or don't have it.
You're reading that, right? Harassment, death threats amid the ostrich cull controversy. Businesses. Huh.
Because they haven't been tested, and these people would like for them to be tested, and if they do have antibodies, they want to use those antibodies. But at this point, none of that appears to be possible. The cull has been ordered. Again, we don't know when it will happen, but they're hoping that they will save.
None of it's possible. They've already spent millions of dollars with all of the paperwork, the fighting them in court, let alone all of the police, all of the gear, all of the rentals. By the way, I think that we're on company 4 that when they found out what their equipment was going to be used for, called the cops and said, you're not using our equipment, null and void contract. They came out, they picked up their equipment, and they hauled it back out. Nobody with any moral integrity wants to be part of what is going on. This is the exact opposite of what a Canadian is. This is the opposite of what a humanitarian is, or an environmentalist. Where is PETA? Nowhere to be seen. Why? Taken over by the Liberals. WF, taken over by the Liberals. They have their own agenda, and this goes against it. There's way more to this story, people. This goes right into the pokey pokes, pharmaceutical companies, insurances. This is huge. Our fascist government is going to try everything it can to give this bad press, to make all of these people, most of which have dropped to their knees live and prayed, and I've shown it, as well as a lot of other independents. These are real people, gentle, some of them most of them God-fearing, devoted, humanitarian, animal-loving, what used to be Canadian. But the government is trying to remove that. Our atheist government is trying to remove that. Don't forget, they're trying to tax churches, people. Again, if you didn't know that, previous episodes. And as always, the documents are all there, even the letter from the Vatican going, hello, what are you doing? Not just for the Christian church, for all churches. Welcome to a fascist government. Now again, if you look up fascism, right? This is where it used to be that whole far right, because it was like this independent religion. Now the independent religion, the independent culture, the supposed one race has all been changed because they have changed the narrative. Now it's mass immigration. In order to completely destroy the culture within. This gives them the ability to alter elections, remove religions, especially the strongest and most Canadian religions, the ones who have been here for the longest. Who would that be? What churches are burning down? I think we're at 170 or 172 churches have burnt down, Catholic churches. The taxing of the churches. Do you see where this is going? Like I said, the definition of fascism is very clear, but we just have to correct a few words because the new global elite, the ones who are pushing through this fascism, led by people like Mark Carney, they're using the same tactics to try to achieve the same outcome with different styles of cultural, we'll call it, normalcies that would have been called fascist. We're just going to keep going. And by the way, I hate saying it, but watch this one. Nowhere in this entire clip does she say that there are any businesses that have come out and said they face harassment, death threats amid any of this controversy? This is professional propaganda, people. This is professional propaganda. These people are masters at their craft. You give them enough money, ho boy, they take the book like 1984 and they start taking Marx, and they read these as playbooks, not history lessons on what not to do. These people are just sick. And then what's really going on? What's really going on?
Okay. Well, there you have it. Evidently, I guess, that night you moved porta potties to around a family that's already been terrorized enough, have been arrested 2 days ago, lied to, and baited in a corner. And evidently, it's okay to, at 2:30, 3 o'clock, bring in semis down a highway, drones with spotlights, and drop off porta potties. You've heard it here if it's not true. We'll just, yeah.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine the audacity of these people? The inhumanity, let alone, no idea. If these people are supposed to be professionals at dealing with wildlife, with any animals, not even just wildlife, with cattle, chickens, pigs. You're flying drones around at night with spotlights around your animals? Are you insane? You are running, you're scaring. If any of them are pregnant, they're going to abort. Let alone the fact that they're running around, you're throwing their hours out. That's a huge no-no, because it just completely discombobulates the animal. Then you have this all fight or flight. This is nature. What are they doing? They're freaking out. They're going to be running into fences. You've got semis coming in. You got all of this noise, all of this ruckus, all of this change. Everything that they've had for 30, how many years this couple's had this? This family and their partner have had this? All being just thrown up. This is beyond animal cruelty. Every single person involved in this should be charged. But oh yeah, PETA. Sorry, doesn't push your green narrative, does it? Your anti-beef narrative, your vegan narrative, does it? It was never really about the animals. It's about an agenda. What about the world? The WWF? Where are they? Oh right, agenda. It's all about climate change. They don't care about the animals. When the leader left the party, he's been saying this for over 15 years. That's why he left. They've been bought and paid for. It's all agenda. They don't care. They've been taken over. The global cabal, people, which really is a fascist. These people are insane. Our entire government has been overrun by them. Our country is suffering. In the meantime, propaganda. Just keep pushing the narrative, brainwashing Canadians into this post-national state, this new Canada. And where were all of the hazmats and all of the ventilators and all of these protective gear, which I've shown on previous episodes, that none of them were wearing as they're talking freely amongst the ostriches? All of a sudden, global attention. Oh shit. Let's make sure we cover the narrative. Now the world is watching.
Yeah, he's covering the cameras.
This is the moment they covered the live cam. Look at the suit. Gloves, taped right up. Look at this, all showboat. So that national TV can show this. This is so CBC and CTV and Global and all the rest of these people who are now out there, now they'll pan their cameras. They haven't been out there showing until now because the world has been watching. This is the story they're going to push forward, people. This is the narrative. This is to try to debunk all of the good people that have been out there trying to protect these birds. This is to debunk any type of a narrative against what the government's doing. This is fascism. Propaganda. They're the ones who are going to be recording and showing this on television. Brainwashing all, especially mostly Eastern, because in the prairies, nobody watches that crap anymore. Most people watch Independence. They've gotten rid of it. They've seen it for generations. They've seen the hatred spewed, the lies, the government atrocities, just bad legislation. They've seen it. We've seen it all out here. This is why I need you to like, share, and subscribe. People out east, especially out east, need to see this. Propaganda, people. Propaganda. Fascism. And you change definitions. That's a big one. That's a big one when it comes to fascism. You have to change definitions. They did this with the pokey pokes. There used to be a definition of what a pokey poke was. And then all of a sudden, they changed that. Now all of a sudden, it's not what it used to be. That's very strange. Fascism. It's past socialism, people. We've gone to the extreme. And the government is doing this in a completely another category, which is so-called assault style firearms. Assault style? That's not even a word. They created it. Why? Because there's a lot of countries that give you the right to bear arms. And they have definitions, same as Canada has definitions of what an assault gun, assault rifle is. Let's just break this down. This is like kids can tell you. A kid can tell you. Assault rifles go brrrr. A hunting rifle goes bang, bang. Pretty simple, but they've because of propaganda have convinced people that Canadians have assault rifles. No, we don't. No, we don't. Here's the government. Assault-style firearms compensation program. Ooh, keeping communities safe. We've already debunked that. The police have come out and said nobody wants part of this. They know it's not going to have shit to do with saving any lives. All of this is crap. All of this. But the definition, they've created a word using the best tactics from communists to socialists, especially fascists. They use fear, hate, and division, and then they make sure to throw in chaos. This helps them hold power. This is what they're doing. Definitions. Assault rifle. Says it right here. Intermediate cartridge, detachable magazine, assault rifles were first put into mass production, blah, 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 goes all the way off. Fully automatic. They even break it down. Some countries are a little bit more specific. In the States, they call it guns with select fire. But it still has to have one mode. One particular mode makes it an assault rifle. Fully automatic. If it doesn't have fully automatic in there, it doesn't classify as an assault weapon, because you can get semi-automatics that have select fire, where you can have single shot, or you can have semi-automatic. They've changed the definition, people. They've changed the definition. Now here is Canada's law. 1969 Bill C-150 created categories of non-restricted, restricted, and prohibited firearms. Police were also given preventative powers of search and seizure by judicial warrant if they had grounds to believe that the firearms that belonged to an individual endangered the safety and society. Again, this is what media isn't telling you. This is why I had a criminal check, which goes every year. They run it. If I even go to court, boom, it affects me. If I break the law, boom, it affects me. Especially since I have a restricted. That just doubles the amount of policing that I have to make sure and ensure how great of a Canadian citizen, how honest I really am. that I'm not any threat. What we have to go through to get these licenses, and then you got to go to school and learn all about guns and ammo. You have to understand this. These are hunting rifles they're taking away, people. They're hunting rifles. So there's no such thing as a fully automatic weapon allowed in Canada. Automatic firearms were added to the category of firearms that had to be registered in 1951. The registry system was centralized under the commissioner of the RCMP. Then in 1977, Bill C-51 required firearms acquisition certificates, FACs, to purchase any firearm and introduced controls on the selling of ammunition. Applicants were required to pass a basic criminal record check before receiving the FAC. Fully automatic firearms were reclassified from restricted to prohibited class. They're illegal in Canada. You are not allowed in Canada to own an assault rifle. There's no such thing as an assault style rifle. No such thing. What are they going to do with all of those stabbings that went around? Are they going to call those assault style knives? Are you kidding me? Don't paint your chainsaw black. That'll be an assault style chainsaw. Ooh, scary. Ooh, don't try to, take the weight off of your vehicle and jack it up a little bit so you get better mileage and you can go off-roading. You would now have an assault style truck or car. The whole idea is insanity, but they created a word. They start changing definitions. You already know they got problems, but now they're creating words. And why are they doing it? To spread fear, hate, and division. And they're using propaganda in order to push this narrative. It's all bullcrap. Take it from a police officer.
The reality of the data tells us something different. You jumped on a social media post from former cop and fellow media person Steve Ryan, who noted 150 cases he'd investigated in policing. 149 were an illegal gun. One was a legal firearm, and that's just the argument, I think, right there out the window for the federal government wanting to knock on doors, do searches, collect Grandpa's hunting rifle when it just is such a waste of resources and assets.
So this is the Toronto Police Association's president. He joined Greg Braddock's, okay? And this is, people, think carefully. This is the Toronto Police Association's president. Are you ready?
I can't think of one right now, and Hank ran the homicide squad where we had a legal firearm involved in a criminal offense here in the city.
He can't think of one. This is the president. He can't even remember one time where a legal firearm was used in a crime. The statistics they give you with it being just like 90 some are illegal, that last little 10%, that's counting suicide, people. It's counting all gun crime. So accidental, where we had one here locally where they don't know where the shot came from, and somebody actually lost their life because of it. They don't know where it came from. Was it nefarious? Nobody knows. But there are accidents that happen with them, and when they do, those people get charged because, well, you're not being safe using your firearm. So if you are, practice shooting or you're hunting and somebody gets hurt because of it, you get charged. Those get calculated in these stats. So even the stats are lies. They're done that way to make guns, all guns, look bad, especially gun owners. Licensed, educated, fully checked through all the police, criminally, mentally, the whole works. That's why they do it. Let's finish listening to what he says.
This is not about hunters. This is not about target shooters or gun collectors. This is about a small number of individuals in this city with illegal guns, thugs, criminal gangs that are out there, often prohibited from having a firearm, or out on bail for a previous firearm offense, causing the havoc we're seeing in this city. I don't know how this would be implemented. I don't know who would do it. I'm not aware of any plan upcoming in the city of Toronto. It's something maybe better to ask the service about, but I'm not aware of any plan in place to actually confiscate these guns. It would be an absolute waste of resources, and I have 100 of other ideas, and I'm sure Myron Demkew would as well, where we can better invest that money here in the city.
There you go. But don't worry. Propaganda, they won't let him speak. They refuse to even debate the idea. They have their own people they bring on. We've discussed this on previous episodes. Exposed, like, it's just the people they bring on, and they say, so this guy's a conservative. No, he's not. He's an idiot. He's a liberal. It's bullshit. It's all bullshit. Now, Alberta's the only one for some reason that seems to really be taking this serious. Now, Mo, he's on it, but he's not on it. Alberta knows they can't stop the federal government from implementing this law. Once they put it in, it's law of the land. This is why Alberta's gone. Saskatchewan's soon to follow. We're leaving. We're going to leave. Everybody I talk to now, it's just everybody is ready to leave. Because we're sick of this shit. We're just sick of it. We're tired of it. It's all crap. But Alberta, they're thinking way ahead on how they can slow it down till we get a new government in.
Alberta Justice Minister Mickey Amory joins me now. Nice to see you, Minister. Thanks for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me.
So you say the Alberta government will not be enforcing what you call the federal gun grab. What does that mean exactly?
Well, it means that since the federal government first introduced this confiscation scheme, we've been absolutely and unequivocally clear. We will oppose any policy that undermines law-abiding firearms owners, including ineffective and extremely expensive buyback programs that don't actually speak to the root cause of the problem.
So just so I'm clear, are you saying that any licensed gun owner who owns a prohibited firearm after the amnesty period, will they face criminal charges in your province? It's not clear to me where that is at.
Well, look, we know that this program is in disarray. We've heard from the federal minister about some of the things that he believes that the program is about. We have worked on a number of different initiatives with our federal counterparts as well to try and work to a solution that works for everybody. Right now, this is in its infancy. The program in Cape Breton hasn't even begun yet. We know that federal officials have been receptive to conversations with provincial officials here in Alberta, and we're telling people just to wait and see as the program develops.
What should they expect, though, firearms owners in your province, when that amnesty period is over?
Now, as for Nova Scotia, hi, Tim. As a result of several emails and calls, I believe it necessary to bring some clarity respecting the province of Nova Scotia and a pilot project with the CBRM to buy back guns. The province has no role whatsoever in this. This is strictly an agreement between the federal government and the Cape Breton Regional Municipality. The province of Nova Scotia and its provincial police force are not and will not be participating. Tom Haggart, MLA, Colchester North. Well, so much for that.
Do you think that police in Alberta will be, looking for folks that have these now prohibited firearms and charging them with federal crimes? Because that is what the law states. Is that something that people in your province should be prepared for?
Well, look, we've said that we will not cooperate with the confiscation scheme. We will not participate in any federal programs that create criminals out of law-abiding Albertans. And so in response to that, we've prevented our municipalities in Alberta from crafting piecemeal arbitrary firearms legislation. We've notified our policing agencies that enforcement of this gun grab is not a priority for our police detachments, that they need to be focusing on criminals and illegal activity. We've also provided guidelines to our Crown prosecutors that prosecuting these charges stemming from this scheme is of low priority.
You ready? If that wasn't great enough, listen.
And we've developed regulations making it absolutely clear that anyone looking to act as a confiscation agent for the federal government must obtain a provincial license or be in breach of provincial laws. The bottom line is this: we stand by our law-abiding gun owners, and we'll do everything that we can to make sure that honest Albertans are not made into criminals by illogical and politically motivated policies.
Boom. Brilliant. So good luck getting the license that the federal government will have to try to apply for. And without the license, if they try through any other department to go and seize hunting rifles, they'll get arrested. This is a brilliant tactical move. There's nothing else a person like a province can really do. They're standing up for Albertans. Hey, Mo, give your head a shake. Get on the wagon, buddy. This is what you've got to get moving on. But trust the government, right? Canadian government apologizes to the Inuit in Nunavik for mass killing of sled dogs. Oh, now this kind of conjoins the ostriches with the guns. This is your government, people. Never trust the government. This is why the government can't have as much power as they have. This is what happens when you have, back then, a socialist government, and today, a fascist government. You combine all of it, and you're seeing it firsthand. Yes, in the 50s and 60s, they slaughtered thousands of indigenous sled dogs. Why would the government do that? To create dependence. McVick Corporation launched an investigation into the impacts of the dog slaughter in 1999. With reports from around 200 people, those interviewed described how the slaughter of more than 1,000 sled dogs in the region prevented them from traveling on the land and hunting for their livelihoods, eroding their way of life. This is why the government did it. This is why they're taking away hunting rifles as well. Not only do they want to make sure that we can't bear arms, we cannot protect ourselves from the oncoming chaos that they have unleashed on purpose. They've allowed the laws to be weak on purpose. It's the final step. First is fear, then hate, then division. They come in together. You introduce one, the next is soon to follow. You promote the next is soon to follow. Then you make sure to throw in chaos. And all the time setting legislations in, forcing dependency on the government. They've gone from socialism to fascism. And what else do you do? What else do you do? Well, you take control. So, while fascism is often used broadly to refer to any tendency toward autocratic or dictatorial control, historically it refers to a political philosophy, movement, or regime with key traits. In general, fascism is characterized by extreme nationalism, check. Enforces strict social, economic, and often racial hierarchies, check, check, and check. Instead of being ultra one religion, you force the death of religions. Atheistic. And in doing so, they get even more power. And they get more money because they're collecting taxes now off of churches. Do you see the brilliance on how they have twisted what fascism is? It's still fascism, people. No matter how you look at it, it's still fascism. Through its corporatism and imperialistic, it supports autocratic control of the government, promoting strict traditional gender roles, got that one, and forcibly suppresses opposition. Ba, da, da. And they've nailed that one. And don't forget, the major part of it is allowing them the right to pick and choose companies of their choice. They want to be able to control. This is their idea of that corporatist, imperialist idea, right? What has the government done? Bill C-5. See any pipelines being built? No. Meanwhile, Carney's invested in what? Oh, all of the pipelines being built in the States and in Saudi Arabia and the rest of the world, while the necessity of oil and gas has exploded around the world? Right. Do you see what's going on? He's lubricating his own pockets and those of his investors through fascism. He now has full control they put in all of the rules to stop any business, and now they've given themselves, Carney, the power to pick anybody he wants or who he deems as a economic win. Fascism, people. It's ridiculous. But you got to be able to control the monetary system. Let's not forget about that.
So are you saying, to be clear, that you can be debanked because of, quote, reputational risks just simply based on some cause? Or
that
political
is the
opinion
reason that they're
you're
being
involved in?
told. That's the reason they're being told. There's also some things, and I was trying to look into the specifics of this. I know when they're setting up an account, if a bank thinks it will probably be used for proceeds of crime, they may refuse it. I would assume that the same criteria applies for a bank account holder, but we've also had problems with our Canadian banks. TD Bank was busted for having, I think it was something to do with money laundering or drugs, got a very large fine from regulators in the United States where they also operate. So these kind of people that are being debanked are not, even the person I know or Megan Murphy, they're not part of some international criminal enterprise or anything like that. They have certain convictions. The law can deal with those convictions, and the money really has nothing to do with what they're doing.
Remarkable. We've got a lot of comments coming in from the audience. Rutland says, if citizens are worried about debanking and access to money, the best thing is to have multiple accounts at different institutions. So I want to turn to our CEO of a leading credit union, Brett Oland. A warm welcome, Brett. And what the heck is going on here? How do you see this issue? I know that you've got a remarkable story. Are you going along with this debanking trend? What's your...
Okay. Now, the guy who's going to speak, he's the guy that after the government illegally, because the court said it was used illegally, the illegal use of the Emergencies Act, the illegal seizure of bank accounts, this is where they all went. He backed him up because he knew all the propaganda. He saw the fascism in the government, and this guy is amazing. Now, I always post all the links. I urge you to watch this in its entirety. I'm already over time here, but watch this in its entirety because what he explains and how he goes into detail, and actually all three of these gentlemen did a great job. This is the Leaders of the Frontier podcast. Very good podcast. But we're going to move on. Chaos. You want religions to self-destruct. It gives the government the ability, in their atheistic ways, to then just pick and choose. All religions are bad. Muslims are not bad people. But we've got a growing divide because the government, on purpose, through mass immigration, and especially where they're picking and choosing them from, and by not checking and actually going through and vetting them proper, purposefully are bringing in very extreme elements of this religion. listen carefully. Ford government accredited Islamic college despite audit alleging parent organization had Muslim Brotherhood links. You see all the pro-Hamas supporters on the streets. Chaos, division, racial tension. All of this are tools, are facets used by governments trying to seize power and give them the ability through legislation to become, well, dictators, fascism people. I have seen growing hate. It disgusts me. It's completely un-Canadian. Don't fall for it. This is what the government wants. Fear, hate, and division thrown in with chaos. This is the dystopian future they're pushing for. Again, previous episode, the Real Liberal Party platform. If you see everything that's going on in Canada, since this party took power 10 years ago, it's the same party. You will start to understand what their goal is. It's all for profit. They don't care about you. They don't care. The NDP don't care about you. The Green Party, they don't care about you. They don't care about the environment. They don't care. Power. They gave up how many seats? They removed their actual people who were running in those seats to make sure that they didn't take away from the Liberal Party's vote. Fascists, people. They all are brainwashed and part of this ideology. They will do anything in their power to stop the Conservatives, to stop freedom, to stop at anybody at exposing all of the evils that they have done. The corruption and all of the rest of the shit that's been going on. They're all the same. The NDP proved themselves. They dropped their own and they voted Liberal. The same party that decimated our country and has brought all of this to fruition. All of this chaos, all the fear, the hate, the division, the poverty, all of it. The homelessness, the drug addiction, all of it. This is who they voted for. Now, most of them do it because propaganda. You got to make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I'm going to make sure to post this. Larry Brock put this on there. It's the full transcript of Gary the Tamil Tiger and his conversation, if you're interested. Because what I ran was bits and pieces of it, and a lady kind of going through it because it was really hard to hear. This is the full transcript. Thank you so much from the Bulldog himself, Larry Brock. Now, I also want to show this. How do you destroy a nation? Well, this is your net migration per 1,000 residents in each country. The year 2023. 31.5 immigrants in Canada per 1,000 people. Now, we saw to the south. What happened down there? Millions of people came in. You know where that puts them? Way down here. And there's the States. 9.8. You think the chaos that was going on down in the States is bad? Per capita, we blow the doors right off of them. This is done on purpose. If you take a close look, you will see all of the countries that are tied into the green agenda. This is all Soros people. And I urge you, check out my sister channel, Reality Revealed. There's a video. Soros has been trying to get it off the air. Well, I found it and I made sure to put it on the channel. Watch it. You want to see what's going on? You'll understand. These people are masterminds. They're fascists at heart. They're going to share the wealth, but it all comes down to the idealism that they're going to control each country individually, run it into the ground through fascism. And with this Green New Deal, all of the countries that have fallen into this insanity are all in the top. Canada, Australia, Switzerland, Lithuania, Portugal, Spain, United Kingdom, Ireland, Finland, Estonia. These are the Green New Deal. Why is immigration so high? Because they're tied together, people. They're tied together. I hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe if you're brand new to the channel. As always, make sure you hit that bell so you don't miss any future episodes, and it also helps break the algorithms. And yes, a lot of my subscribers have noticed that their bells were turned off, and they did some things to me as well. They were purposely changing my videos, and they were changing a little check mark in there from adult content to youth content, and in doing so it would shut off subscriptions and stop people from commenting. Little tricks, little hits, all part of the censorship that is Canada. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'm Alias Tagay. Canadian Citizen Journal. Stay informed.